What is up, ladies and gents? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, RAF ESPARZA, coming to you with another great installment of The Bullpen, a joint venture between Inside BJJ and the Grappling Hour. And unfortunately, this week, there is no Tim, so it really is just an extension of the Grappling Hour. But we won't tell Tim that. We love Tim. Tim is taking off some time right now. He will be back very, very soon. But for right now, we're actually going to move ahead because I got to change that border. That is not season 7. Somewhere in our organization of new scenes that somehow became the thing. But why don't we just go ahead and jump ahead to the next scene that does matter? Because we just got back from Vegas here, folks. And it was a doozy of a week. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It was kind of an insane week, honestly. From all the action that was taking place to all the behind-the-scenes stuff, I thought I would give you some updates in a second, so hold on. In a little bit, we're going to get to some of the reserve notes that have been happening. Because as we have been prepping this show, some notes about reserves have gone up. So I want to try and make sure I'm getting that accurate information to y'all. Just be patient with me. Some of this has been going on as we speak. The commish was in the chat section giving updates on some of these things. And as a result of that, I've had to modify some of the outline for today's show because I want to give you guys the best information possible. So thank you so much for tuning in. We do have a lot to get to. So why don't we go ahead and start off with a recap of all things last week. First things first. This week, for week number 2, we did see some emerging stars. And what I did notice is, yes, at the top of the charts, you've got Christos Papadopoulos, Landon Elmore, and Anthony Molina Valdez. Now, here's where things are going to get complicated because those guys are at the top. I've seen somebody say that Matt Mash is a lock for the playoffs. And I want to be careful that we don't say things like that because he's in a good place. But I hope that people know that this is 100% a marathon. And even though people have a top 8 right now, all of this can change in a moment's notice. And I can tell you that PGF World, the website, has just been updated. And your current leaders are as follows. Christos with 20, Landon Elmore with 18, Anthony Molina Valdez with 16 points, tied for 4th. Chris Olivo, Dom Lobo, Zach Schneider in 6th with 10 points, Rafa Ferreira at 9, and at 7th place. And 8th place right now, Matt Mash is there with 9 points. Now things get a little bit more murky. We had heard that Jordan Worth is going to be out this week. We've also heard that Derek Rayfield is going to stay in. More on that in a little bit. But Jordan Worth and Derek Rayfield and Spencer Ortiz, another alternate, tied at 6 apiece. So lots to still go over. I see you, JC. What's up, friend? So what I'm saying to you is this. As much as you think you know what's going to happen for the playoffs or how this is going to go, we're very much in flux. So please be at the ready to know that even though this is how things look right now, we do have some new information coming here shortly that will change, I think, the dynamics of the PGF Season 8. More on that in a second. I thought it would be a fun exercise since I'm writing solo today to go over some notes. And I thought I would debut a segment with you guys because if I'm doing it solo, nobody can yell at me. So I'm just going to do this. You guys tell me if you like this segment, but I thought I would walk you through a couple different set of videos. The first of which, these are some of the best finishes
I can tell you
from
for sure,
this
nobody
week.
studies.
And let's go ahead and mute that voice because we hear Brandon enough. BMAC, we love you. This was an incredible match that I wanted to bring to your attention. This was the match of the week, in our opinion. It started off with some dancing, some shimmying, and right away, Nick Saff was really starting to put the pressure on Rafa in a way that I didn't really see anybody else put on him yet. This was a back and forth contest, and what I appreciated about it was you had somebody who was chomping at the bit to make their way into this organization. And the second he went in, you saw him pull out the best. And Rafael Ferreira, who has been made to be a star thus far in this experience. So even right here, as you're looking at some of these match highlights, we've condensed this down to 2 minutes left of this match. But look at this. Most of our guys, and myself included, might have been put away in this particular moment. And yet Nick found his way to keep fighting, and then even tried to think, why don't I try to reap, go over, hit, and send these heel hooks. And Hoffa doing this multiple times, to me, my knees were spent. My knees were aching, and they were very concerned as I was watching this event unfold. But nonetheless, we here at the Bullpen are going to go ahead and anoint this our match of the week. I think a lot of you guys were in agreement, and how much so that it was the first match on record to ever get double money bags. What does that mean? That means that our founders, our heads of the organization, they all have money bags worth of $500 each that they can do as a bonus to many of the fighters and the grapplers that we have joining us on the mats. In this particular case, you normally see it happen for one person, but this match was so good for the entire time, they threw one for each of the individuals. Now, we had asked Saf to come on the post show. He was unavailable for that time. And I have to tell you, it's unfortunate because we definitely wanted to give him his props. This was undeniably one of the funnest matches to watch. And it takes a lot for us over at the control booth to really, really hone in and recognize when we have something special, and we felt like we had it. And I see that Egghead is in agreement here, saying definitely match of the week. I mean, I even see JC going one further to say match of the season by far. I think we'd be hard pressed to call anything else better than that. And it says, yeah, that was a fight for sure. So all you people who like to go back and forth between, do we call it a fight? Do we call it a grappling match? I mean, this one I could call a fight. What I would say, though, is let's go back to this right now. This was the first time we've had this happen on record, but Hoffa himself took the contents out of the bag. Now, this is how you can tell this is a kid who probably may not have cleaned up his toys, because he threw the money bag contents out, didn't go to the audience. It just went on the mats. So we had our referees come back over. Also, am I detecting that he smelled the money bag too? No, he's just peering down. Okay. But yes, showed it to the audience, threw it into the crowd, and in a true reverse Robin Hood way, actually just said, hey, look at that, peasants. There you have it. So definitely our match of the week. And we thought that we'd actually get you the 5 top submissions of the week. So let's go ahead and play that right now for you guys. First off, we had Landon Elmore and Nick Zaff, who made a return. Landon Elmore didn't need much time in this match, and it was incredible to watch him go to work. Look at these transitions, because Nick is not slow. And in between, found the break right here. Look at this. Look at the fast-paced action. What you just saw was 14 seconds of action. And then look at how, in transition, Landon already knew he had this, and that he's able to cinch this up. Now, if I remember correctly, yes, I think I'm seeing it down below. This was toward the end of the day. And the positioning, the wherewithal you have to be able to get something that efficient in that short of a time is nothing short of impressive. So shout out to Landon Elmore for getting it. I mean, you're seeing the confidence rise in this kid for a big format. So big props to him. Got a hug from his boy and his coach, Andy Varela. But even in slow motion, it is something to behold. We go to our second highlight here. Another one that was very, very important to watch from Dom Lobo, who's making short work here. But look at this. Look at the aggression that you're seeing. We were starting to worry. In this particular case, sometimes you don't see a finish happen. But when you have 3 minutes and 11 seconds, you think that's forever. Some people at the PGF have had that body triangle or that back control and still haven't gotten the finish. Dom Lobo's patience should be noted here. Watch the efficiency. Now watch him start to pick up on the head. He's pulling it up ever so slightly. He slips that underneath. And it's about this time that you think that Spencer's realizing he might be short on time. And I mean, Dom, with precision, with efficiency, continuing to make a name for himself. And I want to say this. I want to point this out to you guys. Watch Dom right here. It was kind of like, I don't know if I want to flex on you hoes yet, but maybe I'm going to flex on you a little bit. Like, it's the, I got somewhere else to be. So, Dom, if you get finishes like this, my friend, commit to a full-on, like, bicep show. Like, let's put on a gun show here, sir. You don't have to just down. No, man, take your fucking bow, sir. Like, that is some great work here by Dominic Loba. And you look at it one more time, slips it in perfectly. And on that, I mean, Spencer himself looked pretty efficient out there. I mean, no disrespect to him, but speaking of disrespect, look at this. This was incredible to watch for Derek Rayfield, who was one of the alternates who made his debut last week. And watch how he gets this finish over here. In fact, you know what? Let's go ahead and rewind it right now. I was talking with Derek a little bit later in the evening for the post show, and I told him I want to steal this from him because a lot of people will get that foot on the hip, and they may notice that somebody's going to try and either go over or they get out of it from those straight foot locks here. Derek says, nah, look at this foot going all the way over right here. This is great. I love this little detail that he does as he brings it all the way over, almost clamping them back together and triangling it. And at which point it puts so much pressure there that Anthony Goggiani, you know, he was looking for something here to make that happen. And unfortunately, on this particular case, having two options here, and Derek Rayfield gets it done and basically, you know, he threw a lob on that one. Look at this. I love the efficiency of the little celebration that we have here. It's like a Shooter McGavin, but a reboot version. Elsewhere, Joseph Bowers, a.k.a. JJ, and Matt Mash. Okay. If you didn't see this the other day, even if you did, I want you to look at the viciousness in which Matt Mash was able to throw on this armbar. I was concerned. Joseph, at this point, a.k.a. JJ, was doing a great job of getting out a number of attacks. And JJ is a brick, but look at this. Already from right here, this should be enough to get most people to tap. This extension, this lock, should be a wrap. Not quite. And you thought for a second here, you were going to see JJ try to maybe attempt a rollover. You were going to see him get there, but he was a little bit stuck, and it's in this transition. Beautiful work here by our camera team, by the way, to switch on over. Because for a split second, somebody as athletic as JJ might have had an escape here. But Matt Mash, incredibly diligent, great grip here. Even when it looks like it's about to get loose, rechambers it, crosses the feet, and makes it pretty impossible for JJ to get out. And the last extension is really what does it. So I just have to say this. When you watch this, I had a real appreciation for Matt Mash, who maybe hasn't had the tournament he's wanted yet, but he's definitely a very exciting grappler. I thought right here that part of the match was done. I thought we were about to call it a day, and I was hoping, especially as we started to see people fall by the wayside, that at the very least, JJ keeps his arm safe. He continues to play. I'm going to tell you something. Even though Matt Mash still got the finish here, JJ was able to tell us he'll be doing the next week. He said he was fine by the end of the night, and I'm glad to see that, especially in an age where we're starting to see some people drop off. But that was an incredible performance from Matt Mash. And again, right here, beautiful mechanics. BMAC, this is a little bit of the technology that they have on the show. We have this too. We just don't technically use footage because most people are pretty bitchy about their footage. But fortunately, compliments of the PGF, they are very nice to let us use this. So thank you very much for that. And now you can kind of see BMAC was kind of pointing out the hip extensions here. And the hip extensions, once again, play a role in this finish for Matt Mash, who does an incredible job. So props to him. All right, here's one that I had eyes on just for the fear of how this goes. Landon Elmore is an assassin, and him getting Anthony Molina Valdez is an impressive feat. Anthony and him have gone 1-1 before. I believe this was the tiebreak between their little feud, but good Lord, this didn't take long to finish in this particular case. And you would almost assume that you wouldn't have seen a finish here because they were short on time. All of a sudden, Landon finds that last little entry and went 3 for 3 on that evening. 3 submissions from this young man, and even with a little bit of blood dripping out of the mouth, making it all the more epic. So these were some incredible highlights and some incredible performances, and we have nothing but love and respect for our guys who are going out there and killing it right now. But Landon Elmore, definitely somebody to contend with. The question is any of that going to change? Well, Raf, why would any of that change? I'm glad you asked here, rhetorical individual person. I would tell you guys that coming up this week, we are going to have some changes coming in the scenes for the reserves. So this coming week, we are about to see some folks make their debut in the PGF on the injured reserve list. So I'm going to go over some of the updates that I've seen. And as I get these updates ready, I want to bring up a couple comments. GS7 says, that was crazy. Yes, it was. I see another note here from our buddy Shea Green, who said, win or lose, MASH been don't blink action. Facts. Yes, he really has. And I would tell you this, Matt Mash is somebody that he's coming with the CJJ championship. Yes, I know that him and Zach are chomping at the bit to perform better, but I don't think either of them had a performance that I haven't been entertained by. So I've tried to tell our guys out there, just stay the course, get where you need to go. But I can tell you a little side story, though. Matt Mash needed a phone charger, comes up to me, asked me if I can give him one. And I said, it's going to cost you. And I saw my man was getting some bonus money, so he had some money in hand. And he's like, what's it going to cost me? And I was like, well, and then I mentioned something. I was going to say, like, hey, I get to pass your guard. And he goes, you're going to have to submit me with a stupid move when we roll. And I was like, oh, upgrade. Yes, that's exactly what I was going to bargain for. And afterwards, he goes over to our man, Shamanic Vibrations, who makes some of the best cookies out there. And he goes, hey, Raf, cookie on me, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate what you do. And I was like, you know what? I think he's doing this to get out of the submission that he's owed. But young man, that's not going to take away your debts. That's not how that works. I see a note here that says, GS7, the whole PGF night was way better than UFC BJJ. We'll get to that in a second here. But I can tell you this. I may have a theory as to why that is. And I think you guys might already know it. But I think it bears some statements, and I think it does matter to say these things out loud. And I even have an update on how they have said those things out loud. Let's start with this information, folks. The first thing that we should all know is that there are some injured reserves coming in. So who are the injured reserves? Right now, the injured reserves are Dominic Mejia. He won the Boston qualifier, so he was, by all accounts, a gentleman who was supposed to be in this with a lot of our competitors. So just note, he'll be making his way in this week. Also making their way into action this week is going to be Sergio Ardilla, the brother of Paul, who has competed. And last year, for the last season, he was actually there with his brother, has a very good sense of how this all goes, is going to be a problem. Please be aware of that. Matt Ferrialo, a black belt and MMA fighter from Florida, is making his way in. And this is one that I cannot wait for. Jonathan Wilson, a.k.a. Officer Grimy, is going to make his way there. And I saw him out at UFC BJJ. So he was there in the corner of Mo Black, another friend of the show. Those are some very interesting people who are going to be additions to the show. Now, who are they replacing? Right now, Brady Hilton, I believe, and Jordan Worth are on the injured reserve lists. So keep that in mind. I can also now tell you, in the time that we were putting together this show, there have been some changes to the roster. So we can say what these changes are right now. But brace yourself, because if you go back and you look at these teams, Ask yourself if that will make any differences. We'll do a quick little look here together on the smooth comp, but I want to save this for when our good friend Tim Freeman rejoins the show on Tuesday to go over the entire matches in depth. But for right now, here are the adjustments. The Twisters have officially picked up Sergio Ardila and Dom Mejia. I'll repeat that one more time. The Twisters, the Alabama Twisters, have acquired Sergio Ardila and Dominic Mejia. I think that's pretty game-changing. I think those are two very big additions to that team. What does that mean going into next week? We'll investigate a little bit more in just a second. But that means on the injured reserve list, you have Jonathan Wilson, Matt Friolo, and now joining the likes of the folks on the injured reserve list, it does look like Armin Bruni is going to be on the injured reserve list. It does look like the folks over from the Dollamur team are going to keep Derek Rayfield on there, who has points on board, would make a case for that. So right now, everybody, when I say there's breaking news happening and we try to bring you the action, and we previewed it a few seconds before we showed all those highlights, and we said there was game-changing action ahead, I was not lying. I do not try to mislead our friends here. I want you guys to be the first to know this information because, in my personal opinion, I think that will be very, very important to note. Why is that important to note? Well, let's look at these point lists one more time. Our top point earner as of current is Christos Papadelos, who has 20 points. Now let's just throw some scenarios out there. Let's say Dominic, let's say Sergio gets into this. Now they've been picked up. If they can start racking up even 3, you get 3 matches a night. If they have a great night and go elbow genie for 3 kills, that would put them in one night at the top of the list. Now, that's assuming Christos and Landon and Anthony don't do anything more, which is not going to happen, I don't think. I think their momentum is quite good. I'm just trying to show you how delicate the point system currently is. Is it statistically possible? Yes. Is it likely? Who knows? I think that's part of the reason why you have to tune in next Wednesday. The action will begin again at 4 p.m., but before then, you will want to watch our pre-show, and then after it's all done, you're going to want to stay for our post-show. But these are, I think, the important updates to note to let you guys know that. So, yes, your current injured reserves that are still out there include Officer Grimy, Matt Friolo, and Armin Bruni. Now, Armin seems like he should be good to go again. We're hoping the best for him. I know he took off the week as a result of his injury, and I would love to see him get picked up. I'm not sure. We really didn't even get to see a full aspect of his game. We saw the day one actions of his game. The question is now that the teams have these free agents, it begs 2 questions. 1, who can be a free agent? 2, if those were the free agents you were holding on to, those are folks that could have, in a draft situation, probably gone for some money. Just putting that out there. And yet, what does that mean in a world where the guy who went for $1,000 in Dominic Lobo has been outperforming his price? Things to consider. I saw this in note. It says the point system in the PGF means no one is really eliminated from the playoffs until the last day, which is true. Now, there's going to be some people who are probably going to be statistically eliminated. Likely, is what we like to put it with. Having said that, there's always a chance. And Landon Elmore went on a run, but it wasn't an all-kill run. So that's why his points went up very nicely. And I'm intrigued to see how that continues to play out. But when you start seeing some of these alternates in week 2 get point system that put them just outside of playoff contention, I think that's where you realize this game is anybody's. And what does that mean for the teams? Well, currently the Alabama Twisters are in third place with 27 points. Right underneath them is the Tropic Thunders at 15. Those key players, I assume, have been brought in to try and even things out for them. That consortium of 9 different owners of the Alabama Twisters probably got together on their group chat and said, hey, this is the talent that's available. Let's go after it. And I got to tell you, this chat with the athletes and the coaches has been going off because everybody's trying to position and posture here. And there's one note that I saw from Andy Varela that says, oh, it's been deleted. Well, maybe I'm not at liberty to say that. All right. Good to know. See, this is how much news is changing on the regular here. Nonetheless, I would tell you guys, yes, Team Dollimer, 42 points. New Hope Kings, 35. Alabama Twisters, 27. And Tropic Thunders, 15. I do believe those new additions could make things very interesting for the Alabama Twisters. So that is the updates that we have on the reserves. We'll go ahead and stop with our PGF updates for the moment, but we will return on Tuesday for more updates on those. But we turn our attention now on over to UFC BJJ 2. And I have to admit, it was a little uneven of an event. I think there was some lopsided matches designed to give us some finishes, but that didn't mean we didn't have action. It didn't mean we didn't have a good event. And we had somebody here who was comparing the PGF experience to the UFC BJJ experience. And I'll be very honest with you and candid in saying, I think they are just different experiences that probably can't be compared. Allow me to say that. When we're talking about this right now, yesterday evening, the UFC BJJ was top-lined. Hanato Kanuto, one of our coaches at PGF, took on our good friend Andrew Tackett, started off with great action, ended up going a little bit back and forth, and then you saw the momentum go for Andrew Tackett's way, started putting on that pace, and with 10 seconds left, he did force a choke and got the tap from Hanato Kanuto, while underneath, Kanuto just hung out there for a minute. People were asking themselves, who is Andrew Tackett going to call out? As if alluding to the fact there was going to be somebody else. They set it up on the commentary saying, who can stop this man? And if you've seen some of the competitions, it's hard to, but there are some interesting names you can go, just even from ADCC trials, from who he has beaten in the past. Having said all of that, Andrew Tackett elected not to call anybody out. So it was a little bit of a whimper there, but a good match. A good match. Before then, you had Mason Fowler going up against David Garmo. In my opinion, I thought Garmo was probably outsized, and I was wondering, in this particular case, how did this matchup happen? I'm happy for Garmo. I was very pleased to see him get his shot there, but I wondered how deep that pool is. And most people are going to turn down a match with Mason Fowler. Why is that? Well, that dude has incredible flexibility. He's very good. It is one of the reasons why he's a coach on The Ultimate Fighter. An incredible resource. Pretty good in just about any rule set. Can wrestle, has a great guard. But why? At the very end of that experience, you saw Mason Fowler say, hey, I need some big boys to come into this division, sign the paper, join us. William Tackett following suit. So what's unique about this organization that's saying, hey, come play with us, we're the big players here. It's kind of weird to not be able to do these call-outs because you don't want to overplay your hand. While at the same point, who is left for these people? So it's interesting. I have the utmost faith that they'll get some good people to come in here. But there was one thing that happened yesterday that I have not seen in the UFC in a long time. You compared a little bit earlier here, and let me go ahead and pull this up. You compared us to the whole PGF night was way better than UFC BJJ. I'll tell you where I think the PGF has an edge. The rounds, okay, I get it. They want to be different. They want to follow that CJI format. That can be very exciting. It puts a huge emphasis on the matchmaking. because when it's Canuto and Tackett, exciting, even if there's a dominant win and finish. No questions. There was a moment with the Kennedy Martial match where he won and said, I want a belt. And at the end of the night, Claudia got on the post presser and said, that wasn't a performance that's worthy of a belt. You're going to need to do more. And honestly, we need to figure out if you're somebody who's worthy of being brought back in here. And it's the first time in great memory I can remember the UFC organization looking at something critically and saying, yeah, maybe that wasn't as good as it could have been. We're so used to the spin of that event, it's great. It was great. It was great. Especially when we're paying $90 per UFC pay-per-view. They've notoriously been bad about taking constructive criticism over the years. But this was one of the first times I've seen them actually say, you know what, you're right. That kind of did suck. And why did it suck? Because if it's 3 5-minute rounds, you're stuck with it for 15 minutes. And we've seen what happens when you get super fights that are kind of boring for 15 minutes. Sometimes they're just matched up too well, or people are afraid to take risks. And I think that is where we have the edge at the PGF. I think the PGF has initiated this shot clock, this system, this format that makes the action so much more exciting. Because to me, to go from that from one night to the other night, it was night and day. But I will credit the UFC. When the matchmaking's good, it is fun to watch. But when it's rough, it stands out as being a little stilted. Almost like you're watching a UFC fight night that they didn't really care about the matchmaking, and it just kind of comes off a little boring. I love that it's free. I love that they're investing in that. I love that they're even trying to get people involved by encouraging gyms to share videos of them doing hosting parties for UFC BJJ, because I think they recognize most gyms are training at the time the event's going on. And a lot of these people have big gyms and followings. And additionally, I'll even say this. I think it's also interesting to see the UFC say, we will give you prizes for recreating the moves that are done that night. So if they saw a finish they liked, they can recreate that. But I really did enjoy going to my gym as soon as I got back from Vegas, and I got to share some of the highlights from our friends in the UFC BJJ event and showing them, like, this is what it's like to compete at the top tier of our sport. So major props to them. So anyway, I'm going to see this might be a little bit interesting, but it goes, interesting data point. These are the top 10 most rostered athletes on fantasy squads. Jet, Hoffa, Lando, Christos, Molina, Mash, Dom, Brady, and JJ and CJ. Got it. Okay. And it says, well, didn't format that correctly. Oh, geez. But I get what you're saying. I think there is some interesting statistical analysis to be done on who is truly making the most points per match sort of thing going on. I think that information is going to be coming throughout the next few weeks. I know Egg is working on that sort of stuff. But UFC events are feeling artificial in terms of matchmaking and dialogue. For sure, dialogue is not very exciting. I also don't love that they do the interviews like they're just chilling at the top of the bowl. That one, it just doesn't work for me. I don't like that. Like, just because you get the athlete kind of hanging up on top, but it looks like they did the championship main events inside of the bowl because there's the title presentation. It's all over the place. And I noticed this. Exclusive athletes / superstars seem to be getting some special favor. I'm thinking about the match in May with Fionn. Yeah, I mean, I'll chalk it up to this. I think that's one of their first at-bats. So I don't know that they have it all figured out yet. I'm willing to give them some time to look at it. But I think these things going back-to-back, night after night, is not the best. I think we're starting to learn some of the pros and cons of that world. So just some observations. We're going to give some quick notes here, guys. We are already going up on about 40 minutes, and we will be getting this done sooner than later. But we do have some notes to present. It does look like Quintet is going to be making a return. It has been great. And just to talk a little bit about Quintet, like the format, the team format has been something that has been incredible to watch play out. And we're so happy to see them make a return. I'm kind of a huge fan of the staying in until you can't stay in anymore format. A lot more places have adapted the rule set where you do more of a dual meets. I think those are cool too, but something about the Quintet returning is pretty great. But they just did a press conference with Sakuraba, and they were letting people know that the next event is going to take place out in Dubai, and it looks like it's taking place on October 23rd, 2025. So we welcome the return of Quintet, one of the best showcases, and arguably someplace that Craig Jones has such an affinity for. That is part of the reason why CJI, this format for the upcoming version, will be that. Another interesting tidbit I found over the week was that Stephanie McMahon, the billion-dollar princess herself, has said that she has recently gotten into jiu-jitsu. Recently, she took a leave of absence with the WWE, and when she did, she said that she felt a lot of pressure, but that she needed to go find herself. And so Stephanie McMahon actually was talking in an interview that she had with John Cena, and they released it, an extended version of their conversation, on their YouTube channel. And in there, she revealed that she gets a lot of her confidence now coming from the world of jiu-jitsu. And I just wanted to say, that one kind of just flew under the radar. But Stephanie McMahon, I think it's dope you're doing this. I haven't seen Triple H. Actually, I can't say that. That dude has heart problems. I can't make fun of him for that. But I never saw Triple H train jiu-jitsu. He might have. He had submissions every once in a while. But I think that's dope. So I think that might be something that likely could have happened if they were getting their kids involved or she just wanted to do something new. But I do wonder, now that the UFC is affiliated with the WWE in having a parent in the TKO Corporation, maybe that's why they're way more willing to talk about these things and to share these sorts of crossovers, because it's good for business. That's the whole point of the WWE. They literally say best for business. But I found that fascinating, and especially in this, I will take her at her word when she says it is a stress reliever. It is a way to clear your mind, because for so many of us, it gets used as a form of therapy. And I think I would hope that other people find that sort of redeeming quality for it. So props to her, and props to, man, just really finding her way into this crazy, crazy world known as jiu-jitsu. So, Steph, do me a solid, though. Don't slap anybody. There is a version called Combat Jiu-Jitsu, now that I'm thinking about it, that Stephanie McMahon would actually be really good for. If you've never seen her slaps, they're pretty good. Just saying. Think about it, Steph. Get you in one of those special combat jiu-jitsu matches. I know a place. You can come do it at Subversive. It'd be great. But nonetheless, welcome to the world of jiu-jitsu. We get an update here from Egg, who says PGF Season 4 used the Quintet format. Yeah, that is correct. I know in the formatting, we had it go kind of like Quintet did them first. Subversive was right there too. We were one of the first to use the dual style meets, and even had a really, really fun contest with the 10th Planet folks. Team Lloyd Irvin was a team on that one, and then they continued to do that, and people like Nikki Rod were on our events. I think you've even seen like Giancarlo, Fione, some really, really big names have done those in the past. And then, yes, we've seen it through other places like now upcoming CJI and PGF in the past. And I think that's really dope. That's really good to see. All right, let's move on to our next one. This is a pretty big one here, guys. The ADCC has announced their upcoming dates for the ADCC Worlds. And they also announced the location. So it looks like coming up this next year, ADCC is going to take place in Poland. Now, we've been spoiled here in the United States. We've had at-bats at it multiple times in a row. Normally, they travel from place to place. But it does look like this time they're going to be in Poland. And why is that noteworthy to us here in the States? Well, us here in the States, it means that we will need to basically be, I think it's 9 hours back from where they are over there. So it is going to change viewing habits. And this is really going to test a lot of you guys for your viewing habits, because children, there was a time where we didn't have it on Best Coast time or East Coast time. We literally would be up until all hours of the night watching these events. And if you knew what I'm talking about, that means you're a real one. If you don't, then that means you came into it when the sport was starting to emerge, when it started getting to the United States and going up big there within the past 6 years. So right now, it looks like they're going to be September 12th and 13th, 2026. And it is in Poland. Tickets are on sale now. Godspeed if you're going there. I also do wonder this, and I'll say this as somebody who has no particular knowledge of the insights here, but I wonder if they're able to sell out better there, or maybe going somewhere to a foreign destination takes the pressure off of having to do a massive gate. Because here, they got dinged from that CJI competition. They sold well, but one argues there's only so much disposable cash. We saw plenty of empty seats the last time, and I think it did hurt them. I think it did hurt their business model. And now, granted, they fancy themselves as a worldwide organization. They do have a lot of interest going on. It does make sense to change the Olympics from place to place and have it go over that way. I wonder what the draw will be. I wonder what the price points will be to encourage people in that region to spend. And what if they are successful out there? But I would say it's a lot less important than having a full stadium here in the United States, because I feel like that is the one that translates the most to different countries. When we see that it's a packed stadium in Poland, that doesn't necessarily move the needle here in the United States, just for our numbers and our broadcast deals. And it does look like Flow has re-upped their contract with ADCC. Not a surprise there, especially when you consider where else would you see it going for the time being. Who knows if they continue to build it, but I can tell you one thing. If you're an organization, you want to see that place packed out. So that's why I want to know ticket price, and I want to know how they draw there, because if you're looking to get a bigger domestic sort of deal, you definitely want to pack that place out. And it says, how are the 5 hours plus working for the athletes? Dal, I would love that to be a little bit more clarified. I'm not quite sure what that means. Are you talking about the 5 hours of competition for PGF? Let me know the specifics on that one. Speaking of which, we're going to bypass our fight of the week this week and just get straight to you guys giving us your comments. So I'll give you just a minute more to tell me any comments, questions that you have to throw at us over on this side of the world. And I'm going to take one look behind me. I see. Said it was an error. To see if any of you guys have any notes for us on this side of the world as well. But yes, we are looking at any last questions you have for us. But them's the updates. Them's are the big updates for us here in the world of the PGF. Big injured, reserved list adjustments. And it looks like we are ready to see massively different teams next week. So I wouldn't stay complacent if I am any of the guys on these teams this next week. Not that they would be, but just because you're ahead right now doesn't mean you're going to be the board leader by the end of the night. And that goes for teams and athletes themselves. Nonetheless, big respect to the guys who have been killing it so far. I think you've seen their consistency pay off. And, not for nothing, our boy Christos Papadelos went from What About Ravening coming on my post show, and then suddenly the money bags came. So just saying, y'all, there is that. And let me see. It says, I think this is a fair one. This isn't a question, but I affirm this. Stephen Aiken is the best announcer in the world. He should be on CJI again. I agree. Now, I don't think they're super organized about this part, but that's a massive free agent that you have that you could pick up if you were CJI. I would say do that. And then I see this, so excited about Twister's lineup. I know it's going to be intense. It's going to be incredible to see what they do. I wonder how game-changing that is to that team, because now as you look at that group of individuals, those athletes for the Alabama Twisters now getting those pickups. Just to give you an idea who's going to be on their team. Chris Olivo, Alabama Twisters. Hoffa, Alabama Twisters. And you get the impression you haven't quite seen Hoffa peak yet. Okay? Matt Mash. Jordan is out this week, but I think Jordan is chomping at the bit to get right back his spot on there. And then a little bit further down, you have Brady, who's going to be replaced this week. But the acquisitions of Dom Mejia, Sergio Padilla, and then now looking at Hoffa, Chris, and Matt. Yeah, it's a pretty good team, guys. I'm a little nervous on how that's going to play out, but nonetheless, the weird thing I will say is the one advantage the guys have there right now is they have been there. So the guys who have come in, being there is a huge advantage. We saw what happens. Sometimes day one, you don't have the performance you want. You get it out of your system. For Dom and for Sergio, they're very seasoned competitors. So I would be very surprised if they don't make some kind of statement right away. And then right before we sign off, why don't we do this? Why don't we just very quickly, I was told that the smooth comp has been updated. So before we come to a close here on today's, oh my God, am I in the, oh no, I'm in smooth comp, but in a different language. I think it's in Swedish right now. No, smooth. I don't want smooth comp. I want smooth comp. There we go. All right, let's go here. Let's see if we can just, I don't know, pick a few matches and see if any of those kind of pique some interest, because when you're looking at the events and you start to look at who's getting matched up with who, we already saw the announcements for everybody at the very beginning. Now that you have some players going out, it has created some impacts. Last week, I think there was a moment where even somebody like Jet Thompson thought he might get more points on the board and didn't end up having an opponent. And as a result of that, getting kind of whopped, like in baseball. And when you have those things happen, they have significant point differentiums. But here, Spencer Ortiz starts off the day going up against Jet Thompson. Let me see if I can actually share this with you guys. So I'll move over to the side. Oh, look at that. A super chat from Wallow that says, the Help Find Kevin Sherrill Fund. Well, Wallow, that goes to the PGF. That doesn't go to us, but we appreciate you for giving that money nonetheless. That is pretty funny. I have to laugh pretty hard at that one. Let me see if I can push this up real quick while we have the overlays. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put up the window, screen share, beautiful. And then on the screen share, we're actually just going to put, this is how you can tell I am doing things live with y'all, but this is how quick I can work when I do it right. That did not do it right. All right, let's try this one more time. Screen share. Boom. There we go. All right. I just want this, though. There we go. All right, friends. Let us look at some of these names, and let me make them in a size that you can actually read them at. And it says, Wallow, design a milk carton missing ad for Kevin. I mean, I won't not use it. All right, here we go, friends. And you'll actually see me, I think, scroll through this here in just a second. So as I put that up, Match number 1, Spencer Ortiz, Jet Thompson, Christos versus Anthony. That's normal. All of that is stuff that we expect. Let's see the first one we really stumble on here that really changes the game for us. Sergio Ardilla versus Nick Saff. It's going to be a tough match. Dominic Mejia versus CJ Murdoch. Okay. The next chapter starts with Jet Thompson and Sergio. And I have been told, I think that Sergio is a good opponent for Jet Thompson. I think they've competed against each other before. I could be wrong in that particular regard. Then you have Anthony Molina Valdez, who might have been hoping for just a rando. Nope, he doesn't have a rando. He's Dominic Mejia, who is anything but a rando, in my opinion. So you have those folks who have been integrated. And then even seeing how this plays off, a Derek Rayfield versus Zach Schneider is a banger of a match. So I'll do one more just to kind of like look and see how this plays out. But on week 3, I'm going to look and find the last matches. Now on here, it has Robert Blackledge's name. So I'm not sure if he's coming back. I was told that this was updated all the way through. We'll get more information here on that in the coming days. But I think here you can see, yeah, there are some deep implications on how this is going to play out, because Sergio Ardilla, in his first day of competition to end the day, is going up against Landon Elmore, who has been a points leader all the way through. So if I'm a competitor, I wonder how they feel about this. Spencer Ortiz, Christian Olivero, sure, that's kind of another thing that makes sense. But a lot of these guys thought they knew who they were going to go up against, and I think it is slowly changed on them, and I am intrigued to see how that plays out. So thanks, you guys, for that. Appreciate y'all indulging me for a second. And it says, so much research to do before next week. Yeah, the person this really affects is poor Egg, who's sitting there going, well, I thought I was going to have some time off, but I guess I don't get to enjoy my weekend now. Sorry about you, Egg. There's no rest for the wicked, or even the unwicked here. But if you guys haven't checked it out, I think you want to go to eggheadwarrior.com, get your information from him. I mean, not that it's helping him win my fantasy group, but maybe it can make you more informed so that you make better decisions. Nonetheless, eggheadwarrior.com, go check that out. He is going to be updating that soon. I know he had an update going into traveling, which, by the way, traveling and updating a website is incredibly tough, but he is one of the people who has done that. So big props to him. Give him some love, give him some appreciation. All of that does help us here. And it says, oh, I better get those boys on fantasy. Ooh, I wonder how much this is all going for now. And I got one more question for you guys. Do you think that has any implication on the betting lines? That's why I wait before I ever cast any kind of wagers. So anyway, ladies and gents, thank you so much for watching again this week. That's going to do it for us here at the Bullpen. I will see you back on Tuesday live for the show with Tim. If you can't watch that, don't worry. You can catch the replay of that right before the action takes place on Wednesday evening, afternoons, depending on where you are. But for us, you'll see us be the lead-in to the action. And then once the action's all done at 4 p.m. Best Coast time, when you watch the action, 30 matches happen. After that, you're staying with me to watch the post-show. And I think that's a lot of fun. Ladies and gents, my name is RAF ESPARZA. If you like the show, like, comment, and subscribe. Find me at the Grappling Hour. You can find me on patreon.com/Grappling Hour. Give you boys some love. I got so many interviews, and guess what? Just because I love you guys. Right here. I got like an exclusive interview that I did with Landon Elmore, and I got an exclusive interview that I've done with Juan Martinez. 2 young kids that I have a lot of respect for and who are in the season. Those are going to be making their debuts on YouTube, but you can go find them first for free coming up early next week. Before they go on YouTube, you can see them for free next week. They're all behind a paywall right now for my people, but I'm going to give it to you guys first before I give it to the YouTube yahoos. So that's what I got for you guys. It has been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.